after Amazon fees. I think my gross profit was around $3 million. I think the name of the game this year and going forward is more brand direct partnerships and being more than just a reseller. How much money you make on Amazon is directly proportional to how much money you have to spend. So it's going from the cold call or the email, from the no more Amazon sellers to, okay, we'll partner with you.
Dan, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I want to learn more about how to get started selling on Wholesale in 2025. Now, you're a man of a lot of knowledge and wealth, and I've met you many times and obviously interviewed you as well. But if anyone doesn't know about you, give us a little bit of background about you, your business,
Sure.
for life.
My name's Dan. I go by 1000 ASINs on social media. And I started selling on Amazon 6 years ago. Well, 7 now, I guess, in 2018. Before that, I was a real estate agent in New York City. I was kind of dissatisfied with my job, looking for another way to make money. Stumbled upon Amazon, ironically, through a YouTube video. And I started out my business with arbitrage and grew it pretty rapidly over the years. I then transitioned into wholesale about 3 or 4 years ago. Have maintained that growth. Now I'm a multi-8-figure a year seller. Just hit over $20 million in sales in 2024. The goal this year is 30. So I'm doing Amazon at a fairly large scale at this point, and have learned a lot along the way, and happy to share anything I can with you and your listeners. So.
Well, that's amazing. I didn't know you've been doing wholesale for like 3 years. That's like nothing.
Yeah. Relatively new still, I guess. Yeah. Maybe it's 4. I don't know. But yeah, about half and half arbitrage, transition from arbitrage into wholesale. I was kind of a hybrid for a while, for a couple of years there, doing the arbitrage stuff that I knew worked and I could replenish. But now my business is 100% wholesale.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
And just you talked about, you said you're a multi-8-figure seller. Now, honestly, I know you released a YouTube video, I think it was a short as well, about a full breakdown of your P&L for last year.
Yeah.
Are you happy to just give us very high-level stats over that?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll preface it by saying I'm pretty disappointed with the margin this year. It's the lowest margin I've ever had, but I've created sort of a foundation to scale and increase my net margin in years to come. But the basic breakdown, $20 million of sales across Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Shopify. Cost of goods sold, about half of that. After Amazon fees, I think my gross profit was around $3 million. And then I had a substantial amount of overhead, about 1.8 million of overhead. So that's my warehouse, that's my staff of 20 people, a lot of software, interest expense on some substantial loans, equipment that I invested in, bonuses from my employees. It starts to add up. Yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff. So my net was 1.1. If we add back my salary, 1.2. And I realized in reviewing that P&L that my overhead is fairly bloated at the moment. It's about 9% of sales. So if I analyze a product and it's 20% margin, I basically chop that in half after my overhead. So the good news is I'm almost overstaffed in the warehouse. Like, we're just tearing through products. We have the ability to probably triple our production out of the warehouse. We also have the ability to buy triple with our existing staff. I don't need to hire any additional people right now. I have a really nice team, nice facility, nice equipment. I think we could touch $40 to $60 million even without one additional hire. So the goal is, not only will the top line revenue increase in future years, but the net margin should increase all the way up to 10, even 15% as we get ultra efficient. So yeah, at the end of the day, pretty low margin this year in terms of net margin. But if you look at the gross profit, over $1 million, and that's one of 3 businesses I have, I'm not complaining very much. So.
Nice. And just 2 things. Obviously, you run multiple businesses. How much time do you spend hours per week on the Amazon wholesale business?
Yeah, so that's my primary focus. I'm probably doing about 30 to 40 hours a week on that. Then my other 2 businesses, I have a 3PL. So I'm in a tax-free state for arbitrage and wholesale sellers. So I do have a couple partners that I've brought on to that. So that I spend just 5 hours a week or so. And then my most recent business is actually wholesale education, and I'm spending 5 to 10 hours a week on that, creating content and continuing to build out the course and, weekly mastermind calls, stuff like that. So
you mentioned obviously you do eBay, Walmart, Amazon, you do 20 million a year in revenue. Like what percentage or how much revenue is Amazon of that?
Yeah, it's about 90% on Amazon, and then eBay, Walmart, and Shopify, they're about, 2 to 4% each. So really just scratching the surface there. We do want to have those channels comprise more and more of our revenue. I'd love to get Amazon down to about 70% and the other channels up. But easier said than done. Amazon is the king at the moment.
So the whole point today is to learn about how to do wholesale on Amazon. Now, Amazon's been around for a long period of time. If you do any Google searching, you're going to find so many courses, guides about this. Before we actually jump into that, I just want to understand, is there still an opportunity to make money on Amazon doing wholesale today?
Yes, there's absolutely an opportunity. There's, just boundless opportunity. Not only is there opportunity, there's a ton of it. What I will say is the barrier to entry to wholesale is getting a little bit tougher as we go. I think the name of the game this year and going forward is more brand direct partnerships and being more than just a reseller, buying for $5, selling for $10. There are plenty of brands you can do that with still and distributors you can buy from. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be sort of a consolidation where brands really just want to either sell themselves on Amazon or sell to Amazon or partner exclusively with a competent Amazon seller. That said, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of brands out there, endless opportunity for those willing to contact the brands and create value add services for brands. So there's absolutely opportunity. And one analogy I like to talk about in terms of opportunity, if you think about brands, it's not some static thing where the leading brands of today are going to be the leading brands of a century from now. Everything is dynamic. Brands are either gaining popularity, gaining market share, or they've peaked, or they're losing popularity and losing market share. Think about a Revlon, for instance. It was a multi-billion-dollar leading beauty brand, and now I think they filed for bankruptcy fairly recently or some sort of restructuring, and it just doesn't have the same cachet that it once did. So brands are either growing or they're dying, and so really the opportunity is capitalizing on brands that are growing. So the brands, the $10 billion or $100 billion brands of tomorrow are nothing today. They're just ideas in someone's head today. So there's always going to be a new stream of brands entering, the river that is Amazon. So and then there's always going to be some popular brands that are kind of dying and exiting the river. So it's kind of like circle of life. It's endless regeneration of brands coming in, brands leaving, brands, maintaining. So as provided that there's, thousands of brands every single year coming on, and, those brands initially don't have a clue with Amazon, and they'd love to partner with someone who does have a clue, that's going to be a constant stream that I don't see ending anytime in the near future. So given that, I think there's going to be opportunity long-term to partner with brands to sell on Amazon.
So you talked about barriers to entry. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? And give me examples. You said the barrier to entry is getting higher. What does that mean?
Yeah. And I'll kind of rephrase that too. So there are certain brands where they're not going to take you seriously unless you're doing big purchase orders. So someone with $1,000 just isn't going to have a prayer to partner with, a household brand name, because you just simply can't spend enough to have that business, that brand want to do business with you. I'd say for someone in the ultra low capital range, an extra $500 to $1,000, even $5,000, you may want to start flipping products or doing yard sales or doing high ROI arbitrage stuff or books, just to build capital, and also kind of get your feet wet. To enter wholesale, you need to do purchase orders at least, a couple $1,000s with a brand. And I will say that while there are, medium and large brands that, you're going to have to throw money around to make the numbers work, there are plenty of mom and pop small brands that are willing to work with a small seller and do, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 purchase orders. So there is a brand size that is the right match for everyone. So you don't have to go after Apple and Samsung as a brand new seller. It's just not going to happen. You can go with Aunt Jamie's strawberry jam, whatever, out of Wyoming. And like they have a few jams that they create all by hand, and they have a little following. There's people searching for the product because they like it. That's the perfect type of brand you could go after. So there are levels. So I guess I take back what I said about barrier to entry, and I'll revise that statement to just say like there are levels of brands that, so don't expect to partner with a medium to large brand as a new seller with limited capital. Go after the small fish.
So it seems like capital is the key requirement, or the key one. There might be others we can talk about in a minute, to getting started. In regards to capital, like in your mind, how much capital would you need before you get purely into wholesale? And like below that amount, you'd probably say like flip. You talked about eBay, for example. We talked about OA or flipping stuff. Like at what level would you say, right, going after brands doing this, that's probably about the minimum amount you want to have?
Yeah, I'd say at minimum, probably about $10,000 would be a good starting number. Ideally more like 20 to 30. That can really supercharge it a little more, because in this business, whether it's arbitrage or wholesale, how much money you make on Amazon is directly proportional to how much money you have to spend. So if you do have, that $10,000, you could realistically net a couple $1,000s a month, $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and it's a great supplementary income. But if you're expecting to make, $200,000 with your $10,000 bankroll within 12 months, it's just not realistic. So I will say the more, the better. If you're looking to replace your job, replace your income immediately, and you're making six figures already, I'm going to be real. I mean, I would probably want to start with six figures. I'd want to start with $100K, because, you need money to make money, a lot of money in this business. But to actually get accounts with small brands and make a couple extra $1,000 a month at first to supplement your income, yeah, you can do that with 10,000.
I think that's a good answer as well. You talked about replacing your job, which is probably the key thing everyone's thinking about. And you're saying if you want to replace your job, you're probably looking about 100K to start with. And obviously you need knowledge on top of that to apply that 100K. Sure. But that's how much capital. And it is a capital game, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that 100,000 has to be 100,000 in a bank account. It could be access to credit. You could borrow that money. But you need access to that much capital, whether it's debt or your own funds. So,
you also mentioned about you've got a warehouse. Do you definitely need a warehouse to do this game, or how does that work?
Yeah, you definitely don't need a warehouse, actually. So having a warehouse at my scale is cheaper than using a 3PL. So there's some efficiencies there, but there's also some downsides that come with it, like managing employees, hiring employees, firing employees, workers' comp insurance, supplies, this, that, the other thing, utilities. There's a lot that goes into it. If you don't want to manage any of that and just work with a prep center that can scale up and scale down with your business, I think that's a great option. You may be paying a little bit of a premium for that service, but I think it's well worth it in terms of convenience and flexibility. Because a recent example that comes to mind, actually, my staff is, as I mentioned earlier here, we have the ability to process 2 or 3 times the amount of units that we're doing right now. What does that mean? It means some people are reading books half the day, or I just have an excess of labor, and I don't want to let any of those people go. They're great employees, but if I were to use a prep center on a slow month, it scales down with me. So scaling up is important, but also scaling down is important, especially as you get bigger and bigger. Let's say I have 100 employees or 1,000 employees. It's very difficult to have that flexibility that a prep center affords you. So I may ultimately this year be paying more than I would have paid a prep partner, just due to the fact that it's very difficult to deal with labor. Like you either have too much or you have too little, whereas a large 3PL can kind of ride the roller coaster with you up and down. So,
question for you: we talked about warehouses, and I'll try and do a quick answer. At what point should someone get a warehouse? You said obviously you can start off with a prep center, great option. When should they consider it?
I think when you're starting to net $10,000 a month, I think that's a nice point to start looking at small warehouses. So, I mean, you can either hire a 3PL right off the bat, but if you do want to go the in-house prep route, prep stuff yourself, I would just personally sticker stuff at first just to understand how it works, then hire someone, work out of your house or garage. And then once you've tested the model, you have several successful months in a row under your belt and you're netting about 10,000. Yeah, maybe it's time to look for a dedicated space. That could be, doesn't have to be huge. It could be 500 square feet, 1,000 square feet. at like $1,000 to $2,000 a month, something like that. Just a starter space. I think around that point is a good time to start looking. So,
cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the whole game is about partnering with brands. That's where it's going. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
What does partnering with brands actually mean? Define it.
Start by thinking about things from the brand's perspective. So let's say you own some beauty company and you want to sell your products on Amazon. How do you best go about doing that? So there's a lot of things. So that's optimizing your content. So that's the best possible images, infographics, videos possible. It's making your products discoverable. When people are searching for products, you want your product at the top of the search. So people end up buying your product more than other products. You want to basically utilize every possible opportunity to put your products out on Amazon in the best possible light. Another big one is price. That's a huge topic for brands. So let's say you have a luxury beauty brand and the retail price is $79 for your lipstick. And Ulta Beauty and Sephora, they retail the product at $79, just like that, like stable price. And then someone comes on Amazon and then starts pricing it at $65 or $60 or $55. What that does to the brand, it completely destroys like the image of the brand, especially as a luxury brand. So pricing control is another huge thing that brands want. They want consistent pricing across their brick and mortar channels versus their online channels, the most consistent customer experience possible. So that's not like having, terrible blurry images and unauthorized brand content or advertising copy and descriptions that don't match like the tone of the brand. So there's just so much to control and to optimize as a brand. So given all of those things, a brand partner would be not only a reseller, but someone to help deal with all that stuff. So it's actually optimizing those listings, making sure that price policies are being adhered to. It's making sure everything is SEO optimized with the title, bullet points, descriptions. It's even running advertising for them. So trying to gain market share through pay-per-click advertising, being aware of the competitors, defending against competitors, trying to attack competitors. There's just a lot of stuff additional that goes into optimizing Amazon beyond the dollars and cents, beyond the buying and reselling. And some companies have figured that out much earlier on, like the Patterns and Spreetails of the world that are now multi-billion-dollar companies because they were the ones who figured out, hey, let's put ourselves in the brand shoes and let's do what the brand wants and approach it from the perspective of a brand partnership. And that's the key difference. And I think a lot of people entering wholesale are like, how can I get a wholesale account with this brand and how do I get the lowest price and how do I flip products? So it's like it's going from like a flip products mentality, buy for 5, sell for 10, make a quick buck, F the brand, what they want, who cares about them. It's going from that mindset to like, how do we actually help this brand grow sales? And how do we, like, the reward is like, we either get the exclusive right to sell the products or we're on a short list of selling their products. And yes, that leads to a huge amount of profit. But to get that profit, you kind of have to earn it these days because brands are a lot more sophisticated about Amazon. They understand the opportunity. They understand the pitfalls. 5-10 years ago, it was all new-ish to a lot of brands, but these days it's pretty sophisticated. You have to do more than just buy and resell. So,
wow. Yeah. I'm guessing obviously everything you've just talked about is part of the conversation you have when you talk to brands.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of beginner wholesale people are curious about it. They'll make a few contacts to brands and they'll say, no more Amazon sellers, no more Amazon sellers. And yeah, it's tough. It's, the sales part of the job is tough and can be a bottleneck, getting those accounts. Identifying brands to contact, very easy. You can get a list of 1,000 brands that are pretty decent targets right away. That's not a bottleneck. It's going from the cold call or the email, from the no more Amazon sellers to, okay, we'll partner with you. Yeah. And all the magic is in a lot of the talking points we just talked about. It's like pointing some sort of deficiency out with the brand. Like, hey, I noticed there's 3 duplicate listings for the same product. Like, you don't want that, obviously. Like, that's confusing. And they all have different images and different packaging. So it's like kind of just identifying something that's wrong with their presence on Amazon. Hey, what if we could fix that? Like, we have experience creating cases with Amazon. We can merge these together. if we do that, like, would you allow us the privilege of reselling your product or something like that? So it's just trying to find some sort of angle to get in there. And the brand might be struggling with advertising. You focus on that, or they might be struggling with good quality images and infographics or video. You might focus on the design element, or their descriptions might suck and they're not ranking well for a lot of relevant keywords. You might help them with more of the SEO and advertising copy. So it's kind of on you to like get a landscape of the brand, see what their pain points are, talk about the pain points with a sales rep or maybe even the owner of the company, and be like, all right, we have a plan to tackle this stuff. Would you allow us to partner with you and purchase and resell your products wholesale if we help you with some of this stuff? And those are some of the conversations that happen to get the best brands. Some brands, you just fill out a form, they send you a price list and you buy it. And believe it or not, a lot of those accounts actually work and are profitable. But like anything in life, like the real pinnacle, like the most valuable accounts are the ones you have to work for a little bit.
Talk me through, we'll talk about how to find brands in a minute, but what would be the typical time frame from I find a brand, now I'm actually working with them and buying, should we say? How long does that typically take?
It can be as little as a few days, and it can be as much as years of nurturing. So, so it can be one phone conversation. Okay, great. You guys sound legit. Like, you know what you're talking about. You'll do a big purchase order. Here's the price list. Go ahead. And then we have the account. We look at the products, see which ones are profitable, maybe negotiate pricing a little. So it can be a very quick process. Could be a day or two. Others will start as no's and then maybes and then yeses. So a recent anecdote, there's a manufacturer that I contacted like 4 years ago. They're like, we don't sell directly to retailers. It's not in our business model. We just don't do it, but we'll point you towards a distributor you can buy from. Okay, great. So we contact that distributor, got the account there. The pricing still worked, fortunately. So we bought and resold that product line for 2 years. And then the distributor had a fight with the manufacturer, actually. So we were unable to buy that anymore. So then I'm like, oh, this could be a decent opportunity to like contact that manufacturer again. And by the way, my sales are way higher and like I have much more like legitimate presence. So let's try again. So I emailed again, nothing, just no response at all. I'm like, man, I just feel like this can work. But put it on the back burner and just set a reminder. So I have like an email software to like remind me to follow up every 3 or 6 months or whatever. It's my own personal like CRM type of thing. I guess a month ago, got an email, time to follow up with this manufacturer again. So I just threw out another email. I tried a different tactic this time. Like in the title, I said like dispute with X distributor or something. And like something that I knew they'd like click on it like, oh, that's interesting. Like he name dropped the distributor. He knows about this dispute we had. So like I did kind of like a clickbaity title. And then I just explained the situation. Like we bought like $200,000+ of product from this distributor over 2 years. We'd really love to continue selling it. We don't know where to buy it from. We'd love to set up with you guys directly. And by the way, we can buy the full truckload quantity. So kind of flashing like we have dollars, like we can like make it worth your while. And then a sales rep got back to me and they're like, okay, that sounds reasonable. Can we get on a phone call though? I just want to learn a little bit more about you. And then we got on a phone call. Amazon was never even mentioned actually. She just said, it sounds like you have an outlet to sell these products. As long as you can buy this volume, then no problem. And they sent me the pricing. Pricing was all 15% lower than what I was paying for the distributor. Really great numbers, 25 to 30% margin, and I'm psyched. So I just did my PO. So that's on the other extreme example where it could be years of who knows what, and right place, right time, seize the opportunity. So it's all kind of always ongoing. No's aren't permanent no's. No's can become maybes. Maybes can become yeses. There are brands that sell to Amazon first party that are unsatisfied. Now they're looking for a third party partnership. So I'd say the key to success is like volume, like just keep contacting brands, keep having conversations. Every rejection, learn something from it, come back with a different approach, a different idea. And eventually with enough contacts, you definitely will be in the right place at the right time with the right opportunity. I've seen it time and time again. And that's the big determining factor. Not contacting like 3 suppliers and they say no, and putting your tail between your legs and throwing in the towel. I mean, if that's you, then like don't even start. But if you're willing to be resilient and make the contacts, you will have success. So.
Now, I appreciate, and that's amazing. So thank you. So I appreciate your time, and we haven't got much time left because you're a busy man. But I think the one key question that people want to understand is, how do you find brands? Can you give us a quick run through of that? Yeah,
for sure. So there's now a software out there called Smart Scout, and I utilize that heavily to filter brands. So what Smart Scout does, it organizes the entire Amazon catalog by brand, and then you can search for those brands and see a lot of things about them. So I'll give you like my basic filters. So I filter brands that Amazon is not selling the product line more than 20% of the time. So they're mostly out of stock. I don't like competing with Amazon. It's a dangerous game. So that's filter number 1. I'll filter it by revenue. So I'll do a minimum of $10,000 revenue, because I don't want to contact brands that sell like 3 units a month of one product. It's not worth anyone's time. So kind of a minimum revenue range, also a maximum revenue range, because brands can get so big when they're in the 2, 3, 4, or $400 million range of sales. It starts to get kind of unrealistic to partner with those brands. They're, I can get the medium-sized ones, and I even have like 1 or 2 household names, but like that's me now as a pretty big seller. As a beginner seller, I would cap the revenue actually at like 50 to 100,000, because then those are brands that are like the right size, like trying to match up like the right size of your business with the right size of their business. That's a better fit. So that's revenue. And then the last important filter is number of sellers. So I will filter for a minimum of like 3 or 4 FBA sellers. That is indicative of the brand working with multiple reselling partners. If there's just one seller, it usually means the brand is selling on Amazon themselves, or they already have an exclusive agreement. So by seeing that there are 3, 4, 5 plus Amazon sellers on the listing, it means the brand's probably playing ball with a few different partners, and then there's the opportunity for you to squeeze in there. So those are the basic filters. I'll run that search for any category. There's just so many brands out there. I mean, if you did that exact thing, you'll have a list of hundreds, if not thousands of brands in no time to contact. And that list, like I said, is dynamic. Everything's always changing. Some brands are getting more popular. They enter the filters. Some brands are getting less popular or whatever. So new brands are always coming in and out of those filters. It's not like it's like the same 500 brands that 10,000 sellers are contacting. It is dynamic, and you can play with additional filters, toy around with different things. And so it's as easy as that. It used to be more like storefront stocking, looking at other sellers, what brands they're selling. That also works. But I think Smart Scout in 2025 is the best way to just get to a list of brands to contact and go ahead and contact them. So
you're just reaching out, phone calls, emails?
Yeah, phone calls, emails. I'm not doing any of the reach out personally, except for that recent story I told you. That was a personal W for me. But yeah, my buyers are doing that. They're filling out contact forms. They're sending emails. They are picking up the phone, calling, and just, brute force it.
Wow, absolutely love it. Now, I appreciate time, and Dan, thank you so much for obviously everything you've shared. Obviously,
absolutely.
And I could be here for hours trying to learn from you.
Yeah, likewise.
If anyone wants to get in contact or find more about you, how can they do it?
Yeah, so best way to contact me is to follow me on Instagram. The handle is the number 1000, ASINS, ASINS. Give me a follow on there. I'm also on Twitter now, also on YouTube now, so I'm kind of covering my base a little better. And if this sounds like a business model that anyone's interested in learning more directly from me and my team, we do offer education now. And the best way to find out more info there is just through my Instagram. We'll also drop a link below the video as well. I'll send that to you. And we're happily accepting more students. We've seen a ton of success using our methods. Would love to have a conversation, see if we're the right fit for education. So
absolutely love it. And thank you. And obviously I hope to have you back in another year to see the success.
We'll check back in, see if I hit that 30 mil, and we'll keep trying to run it up,
Brilliant. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I should be further ahead by now? If you're trying to scale your Amazon business, or even if you've just started and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone. Every day, you'll see other people succeeding and you'll wonder, why not me? Maybe you're unhappy, unfulfilled, stuck, bored, or even confused. I get it. I was in the exact same spot for years. I was afraid to fail, but also ashamed of being afraid. Now, it wasn't until I networked with other sellers and I paid a business owner to teach me how to run my business that I really felt like my business was growing. He showed me the ropes and gave me the confidence I needed, and after scaling my business to over £3 million, I repeated the exact same process to over $1 million in the USA. Now, I want to repay that favor and show you the ropes, just like those people helped me on my journey. And as someone with the #1 paid Amazon FBA community on the school platform, Ahmed and I are here to guide you step by step in your journey. Now, imagine if building a business was easy as playing a video game, with step-by-step instructions, live workshops, real-time leaderboards, and new friends to make it fun. If that sounds good to you, let me tell you more about how the Amazon FBA War Room works, how much it costs, and what you need to do to get started. No prior experience is required. Now, the Amazon FBA War Room is a simple and a fun way to build your Amazon reselling business. Whether you have not yet started or you want a step-by-step guide to scaling your business, no matter how small, we can show you how to turn a business from a side hustle into a full-time income. From learning how to source profitable products like the experts to analyzing deals like 7-figure Amazon sellers. All you need to do is show up, follow the step-by-step process, the training and support that is provided to you, and we'll show you exactly how to build and scale your business on your first try. Sound simple? It is. And let me share with you some examples. Mark started at zero, and in just 5 months whilst working with me, he has now sold over $60,000 on his business, and he's broken $22,000 in his last month. Or Saida, who has successfully overcome a Section 3 review by Amazon, saying the support and the guidance from the community got her through. Or even Kahil, who loves our weekly training and live support sessions, saying how he feels like it's sitting with an expert with a friend in a coffee shop. Now here's the best part. 98% of people who join our community continue their subscription. Yes, the value we provide is that good. So by your next reunion, you could be answering, how do you do that? Instead of, what are you up to these days? Now, the Amazon FBA War Room removes all of the obstacles that once stood in the way of starting and scaling your Amazon business. Now, you don't need a big budget or fancy tech skills. Everything is built into the community. And you can even pick what and how you want to sell, whether it be doing online arbitrage or even wholesale. And if you don't know what model to do, don't worry. We're here to help you, and we'll help you choose the best model for your personal situation. And you can network with a number of other sellers who are doing this and supporting you from our community. If you sign up today, you'll follow our process and build your Amazon business around what you love doing. And if you become one of our top contributing members, you'll also get access to free one-to-one coaching from Ahmed and myself. Even if you don't win the first month, you can continue competing every single month until you do and get that coaching. Worst case scenario, you're going to walk away with the knowledge worth thousands. Best case, it could change your life forever. Now remember, the only guarantee is that if you don't take the shot, you're going to stay exactly where you are. But if you do, you could be the next one joining us on a live one-to-one coaching session, celebrating how quickly you've built your Amazon business. So are you in? Click the button to join the community now. We just want you to win. And remember, one last thing, 98% of people who join our community stay beyond their first month. That is because of the value we are providing. You can do this. Click the button and let's get you started.